Hello, my name is Ben,
And I'm Emily.
and we are the hosts of the Too Vague podcast this week. Emily, how are you doing today?
I'm doing really well
Excellent.
today. Yeah.
How was your trip over to my house?
It was good. I remembered where you were, so made it easy.
Yeah. How did you travel?
I traveled by car today.
Okay.
Usually, yeah, that's my main transportation.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Not unicycle?
Not unicycle, no.
No.
I don't even know how to ride one. Do you?
No. No, I do not. But Cheyenne does.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Ask Cheyenne about her
Yeah. It's
unicycle
a
experience.
very cool skill.
Yeah, it's very, very interesting. It's not your common thing. You don't see
Yeah.
many unicycles on the bike paths here in Tucson.
Yeah.
So our show, as I tried to kind of do it subtly, but it didn't really work too well, is on the word travel. When you think of traveling, is that the traditional sort of like going to a new place? Is that how you think of traveling? Because that's pretty much how I think of traveling.
Yeah, that and just getting out of town.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
getting out of
A
town.
new scenery and wherever it may be.
Yeah. Do you do it often, frequently, or not enough? Or
Yeah, not as often as I would like,
Yeah.
but when I do get out of town, I enjoy it.
yeah,
It's like a step away from reality.
yeah.
And
Oh yeah, just kind of recharge the batteries. Right?
yes, exactly.
Are you someone who likes to travel with someone or with a group, or do you like to travel by yourself?
I like to travel with someone, sometimes with a group. I sometimes find it hard to travel with a group because with all the personalities, it can be hard to make everyone happy
Yeah, yeah.
with whatever you're doing. So I try to keep it maybe like 4 or less is ideal for me.
Yeah. If it's like going to a city with a group of people, that's different than just going to a particular hotel in Vegas or, you know what I mean? Like with a group of people, it's like there's a central location that everyone's going to hang out in versus something like going to London with a group of people is everyone's going to want to do something different, right?
Yeah.
Where is the last place you traveled to?
The last place I traveled to was Hawaii.
Yeah.
Yeah, specifically Kauai.
Kauai.
Yeah.
That was for work, right?
Yeah, it was for work.
And did you get to do anything in Hawaii that was not work related, or did you just do mostly work while you were there?
I did have one free day. So I looked up popular attractions like near where I was staying because
Uh-huh.
I didn't have a car, so I'd have to Uber wherever I wanted to go.
Right.
But there were these pretty waterfalls just up the road, so I went and saw those. And my resort was right on the beach, so that's where I spent most of my time because I loved the water. And so
Did you go swimming?
I just put my toes in, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, there were a bunch of surfers out there. Yeah, it was a little too cold for me.
Were they in wetsuits, or were they still normal?
Yeah, they were in wetsuits,
Yeah.
and they were way further out than just the shore.
Right. That's usually, when it's cold, they still surf, but they just put on the wetsuit instead.
Yeah, I've
Yeah.
never tried that or done surfing in general, so
Do you have an interest in
I
doing
do.
that?
Yeah, it sounds super cool and fun.
I'm surprised they haven't developed a surfing video game, because I think that might be an interesting sort of exercise in how to accurately represent waves and things like that. I think I did play one, but it was two-dimensional and it was kind of like, here's the curve and you have to stay ahead of the curve of the wave. It wasn't like a three-dimensional sort of like trying to determine where you start where you catch it and where you don't. I don't know.
Yeah, it'd probably be a good game for VR.
Oh yeah.
Virtual reality. That way you're in the wave and you can kind of feel it out
Right.
and see how it curls under.
Right.
I don't even know very many surf terms. But
Yeah, there was, it's kind of funny when I was a little kid. This is back are you familiar with there was a company called Ocean Pacific that made a whole bunch of different shirts. They were kind of a surf company. There was a bunch of other like O'Neill and Body Glove.
I've heard of those. Yeah.
I was a fan of the whole idea of surfing back when I was in grade school. Our parents allowed us to get a subscription to a magazine that we wanted. And for a while there, for me, it was Surfing Magazine. So I get all the interesting fashion choices of the 80s and all these interesting Ocean Pacific shirts, which had a lot of very tropical looking designs on them. but it was kind of a big shirt to wear in the 80s with OP shirts.
Yeah, very
Ocean
cool.
Pacific, yeah.
Yeah, I love surf shirts and like the way they advertise it. I think it looks cool.
Yeah. VR. You've been playing VR recently, which surprised me because when I think of your gaming experience, it's not very broad, but you've been playing.
Yeah, my brother has an Oculus, and I was like, oh my gosh, can I download Beat Saber? And so I did, and I've just been obsessed with it, honestly. I love that it's a workout, and it's just so fun and interactive.
Yeah.
And even if I'm not playing Beat Saber, like in the lobby even, it's just cool to like look around in the place that they have the lobby set in.
Yeah. Where did you find out about Beat Saber?
I actually had a friend that played it, and so I played it at her house, and then once I found out my brother had an Oculus, I was like, can I get Beat Saber?
Yeah.
And then that was all it took.
I'm guessing if it's the freestanding one that's all just its own one unit, has a battery, it's the Oculus Quest. He's got either the Oculus Quest or the Oculus Quest 2. I did have some time to play virtual reality. I didn't get a chance to play Beat Saber, but I played Super Hot, which was kind of a fun game to play. And then there was another sort of cooperative, I don't know how to explain it. It was a cooperative game where you're two people on a UFO, or two or more people. And what you would do is look in front of your panel, and you had a set of instructions that you had to follow. And you had to do it in a certain order. And then also there would be things that would fly around, and you'd have to, charge things up. It was almost like, remember those little things as a kid, like, and by kid, I mean like 2-3-year-old, where they had the different things where you'd like roll the whatever and do the thing that's the zipper and do all the different activities for physical to kind of engage children in it.
Right.
Sort of like that, but more puzzly. It's like you had to communicate with the other person and say, okay, I'm doing this, you do that. Or, you'd have different instructions on what you would have to do together to get this ship to move or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So it was kind of funny. And then also you could throw things so they would like float. You could throw like a hammer or whatever and throw things through the air. So Beat Saber, are you thinking about other virtual reality games?
I'm not familiar with any, so I mean, I'm open to suggestions, but Beat Saber is just the one I know, and I've been playing it a lot lately, so I've just been getting better at it.
Yeah.
And I noticed there's a lot of songs that you have to purchase.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure if you play it enough, you can unlock them. I'm in like the midst of figuring that out.
Gotcha. I'm not too familiar with the way they do that, but I do know it's like a purchase. I play Rock Band, and that's like all the tracks are, you can buy additional songs to play, which is okay, but I would rather them release a bunch of new songs in a pack or something. And, by the time, I don't know how much money I've spent on Rock Band over the however many years I've been playing it. It's probably now going on 10 years, like version to version.
Mm-hmm.
My gosh. Just buying all those songs, 99 cents, a buck a piece, but it's like, that adds up.
Yeah, definitely. On Beat Saber, like they have like a Lady Gaga pack.
Uh-huh.
And so I was like, oh, I'm interested. And then to buy the whole thing was $14.
Oh my gosh.
And then one song was like $2.14.
Yeah.
So I just bought one song because it's all hooked up to my brother's stuff, and I didn't want to like do that to him. But I was like, geez, there's no way I can unlock these. I have to just buy them.
That's how they make money on this, right? It's like, and Beat Saber is something that I think, I want to say like 3 years ago is when it started really starting to get popular. People were talking about it 2-3 years ago. If any of you out there don't know what Beat Saber is, maybe you can explain it. How would you explain Beat Saber?
Yeah. So you have a controller in each hand, and you have the headset on. And what you see in the headset is you're kind of like on a platform. Once the song starts, you have like your left hand will be like blue and your right hand is red. And so when the song starts, you start getting blue and red cubes coming at you.
Right.
And each cube has an arrowhead on it. So that tells you what way you need to swipe through the cube with your hand.
Okay.
So whether it's down, up, left, or right. So you, like a blue cube, you would hit with your left, red with the right. And so whatever's coming at you, you just have to hit it. And then in the direction they want you to hit it.
Right.
And if you have too many consecutive misses, then you fail the song and you'd have to start over.
Right. It's a standard rhythm game sort of thing, but in virtual reality. I think it's one of the more, if it's not the first representation, it's definitely something it was very cutting edge at the time, because having a rhythm game in virtual reality has always been like, oh yeah, definitely need to do that. And not just like the old ones. Like, did you ever play Dance Dance Revolution?
Yes, I love that.
Did you ever play that at the arcade, or did you play it
at
home?
an arcade I would.
Okay. Okay. I liked rhythm games at the arcade. At the time I started playing, it was with a girlfriend, right, who really liked that too. So I kind of got into it. And it was just like a bonding activity where you're both dancing really, really stupidly, I guess. I don't know. And then there were some people who got really into it, and they were doing all sorts of weird tricks and jumping over the back. And
right. I've seen that.
Oh yeah, it's pretty amazing. And there's some people who you'd have an option. You could use both pads. As each iteration came out, it got more and more complicated. They did have pads for the home. I think J-pop, I got exposed to those types of songs was through like Dance Dance Revolution and Beatmania. Beatmania is the name of the thing for Konami, however you want to pronounce it, that they make Dance Dance Revolution, but they also made this thing called Beatmania, which was turntables, and you were doing it as a DJ. So it was the same thing, and it was a rhythm game, but you would have to scratch the turntable in time and do certain things with the, different buttons to make it sound like you're mixing. This is back in the days where, like techno music was kind of big. So
okay. Yeah, sounds fun.
Yeah, it was really fun. Did you ever get into any other rhythm games, or is it just like this is your kind of first big Beat Saber, the biggest thing you've done since?
Yeah, I would say, this is the biggest one I've indulged into.
Yeah. Did you ever play Rock Band or any of those guitar-based ones?
Yeah. Yeah, those were always fun. So that's another like rhythm-based I've had.
Yeah.
Like musically, yeah.
Yeah. Well, also influenced by your brother and your family?
Yeah, my mom got us like the whole set for Christmas one year. So,
oh, yeah.
So we had like drums and a microphone and a couple guitars.
Yeah.
So have friends over. And I like the singing and probably the guitar.
Okay.
Yeah, those were my two favorites.
Yeah, rhythm games, really cool. What's credited as the first rhythm game ever is this game called Parappa the Rapper. And it's this little dog that goes on adventures, and it's a rhythm game that involves him rapping. So you get into rap battles with other cartoon characters. And originally it came out as an arcade game in Japan. It went worldwide in 1997. The rhythm game is pretty interesting. Parappa the Rapper, also very interesting graphic style, very kids show, very Nickelodeon kind of looking.
Definitely.
Right? Yeah. You know what? I did have a question for you about virtual reality. Now, you have used it for playing games, but what sort of applications do you think there are as far as traveling? Because I have a feeling that there are certain things where you could travel to places that you may not be able to afford using virtual reality. Like you could go to the Grand Canyon and walk around the Grand Canyon in a virtual environment and look at it.
Yeah, they probably have it depicted so realistically.
Oh, yeah.
And so, I mean, I haven't tried those applications or anything like that, but I'm sure they're out there.
Yeah.
And it's very cool that they are, because it feels like you're in that world. Like you can look up, you can look down, you can look behind you. Like it feels like it's real.
I think also with the computing power of these days, if it's just a display and you're walking through an environment like that, that might be something where it's like, it's almost like reality. I mean, you could even do it with filming with photographs. Not like they do for Google Maps. Like you can go down to the street level and you've got the still photographs. I mean, being able to actually walk around in the environment and kind of maybe even interact with it. When virtual reality was starting to get introduced to the public, it was kind of like, hey, there are plenty of applications in like travel and all this stuff, but it's like, it looks like it's going to be mostly games, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
In the future, would people go to a travel agency and use the virtual reality machine to simulate a trip or figure out how they want to go on a trip before they go on a trip? Or would they be like going to the travel agency to actually take the trip? Like in a Black Mirror sort of way, I guess.
Right. Like, here's a simulation of what the trip could be, or
Right.
you can just do it.
Right. That's interesting. There's also, I probably mentioned this before, there's a movie that I really like called Brainstorm, which is about this piece of technology that they developed that records brainwaves on tape. And the person who is recording this experiences things in the environment, including like, touch and smell and sound and everything. So everything is recorded on tape. So when you play it back, you get the same experience.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't know how close we are to that kind of technology. That still seems kind of sci-fi to me.
Right.
But I mean, will there be a time, do you think, that people won't even travel? They'll just use some sort of a simulation to go to different places and be exposed. Do you think that's a possibility?
I think it is a possibility, but there's just something in traveling and going actually there.
Yeah.
Smelling the air there, tasting the food there.
Interacting with the people, I think, too.
Yeah, it's just a whole experience on its own. So I think it's definitely more authentic to go to the actual place. But like you're saying, maybe some people can't afford it, and this could be an outlet for them to somewhat experience maybe what it could be.
Right. Or have like some sort of surrogate, but you're missing out on a lot when you're just talking like a simulation, like in virtual reality. Mm-hmm. You're seeing the sights, you're hearing the sounds, but it's not as interactive. You can't talk to the people. You can't interact with people. You can't feel things. There's no tactile. I mean, I guess something, with those, you've got some vibrations and some feedback things that make it feel like you're manipulating objects, but it's just not the same, right?
Yeah, very true.
I think that is way down the road, traveling using virtual reality. But so in Hawaii.
Yeah, it was such a high and by trip. I had to pick what I wanted to do very wisely.
Right. Was there anything that you did while you were in Hawaii that you said, I need to go back to Hawaii at some point in my life and experience this? Or is it just kind of like, I've been to Hawaii, I'm going to cross it off the list?
No, I definitely want to go back, and like as soon as possible, honestly. Because when I was there, like I was sitting at the bar talking to a local, and he was telling me that the whole southern and western part of the island are only open to helicopters or by boat.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, no cars are allowed out there.
Mm-hmm.
And he was telling me that there's these beautiful cliffs on that side of the island that if you take a boat just off the coast, like it's just breathtaking. And after hearing that, like when I go back, that's what I want to do.
Okay.
I want to be on a boat looking out in the water, looking at the cliffs and just like soaking up the sun. Like that's what I want to do when I go back.
Cool. Do you have any urge to do any like, I don't know how the scuba diving and other sports opportunities and are out in Hawaii. Is there any urge to do any like scuba diving or deep sea diving?
Definitely. Maybe just like around like the coral reefs or something. Yeah, snorkeling. I would do. I don't know if there's many sharks out there. I'm not sure about that.
Yeah.
But if they
might want to do some research before you tip your toe.
Exactly.
I think with anything, it's a risk, but I think the risk is very low.
Yeah.
It's not like the fear generated from the movie Jaws is really realistic. I'm sure if you're bleeding, don't go in the water, man.
Yeah, very true. But I would definitely do like a cage, like if I went down in a cage and there was like great white sharks circling around me or something.
Or on a boat, like do some, like in other places like whale watching and things like that.
Yeah, being out on the water, anything about it, I love it.
Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Have you always had a fascination with water?
Yeah, I like We had a speedboat, so when we would like take it out on the lake, like I love just cruising across the water.
It was in Minnesota?
Yeah, we had a cabin on a lake, Lake Mille Lacs, which is a fairly big lake. It's like 18 by 21 miles. And so my family had like a little speedboat, and we would go like tubing and water skiing.
Right.
I just loved being out in the boat, in the water, in the sun.
Yeah.
I'm all about that.
Do you water ski?
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. And I remember I practiced so much all summer one year that by the end of summer I was able to slalom ski.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I could kick off a ski and just be on one, which was super cool. I was like, I'm doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I tried when I was much younger, but also upper body strength wasn't there for me at the time.
Yeah. And I think it's a lot of grip strength too. That's what I noticed
Yeah.
was like my hands would begin to hurt because all the skin was like crinkled and just so much pressure applied on top of it.
Yeah.
So I remember my grip strength is what would hurt me when I'd be skiing for a while.
Do you have any urge to do any real skiing?
I do.
I say real skiing. I mean snow skiing.
Yeah, snow skiing. I do.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, well, if I can water ski, I'm pretty sure I could snow ski, right? But I've never been, so.
Oh, no?
Yeah, no, never.
Yeah.
So it does interest me a lot.
Yeah, that's cool. I have taken ski trips before. I used it when I came to Arizona. I had a cheap pair of skis that I bought from a buddy of mine who was a serious skier that were a little bit too small for me, but I still used them. They were like hand-me-down skis that I bought for myself. And I would use them when I would go skiing in Wisconsin and Illinois, which is not where you want to ski. Maybe it's where you want to learn how to ski so you don't fall because it's like sometimes it's like skiing on a sheet of ice basically down a hill. I mean, sometimes it gets pretty crazy with how
scary.
cold it is. But when you've skied on powder and gone to a place that's like a groomed sort of place, like up north, I've taken a couple of trips with friends to Snow Bowl and I've been, there. That's a good place to kind of learn how to ski in Arizona. It's a lot of fun if you want to do it. And if you've done, I mean, I can imagine if you've already done water skiing, you kind of have the steering thing down a little. Water's a little different than snow, but it's
right. And if you want to stop, you just let go.
Right. You don't do that with the skis. You got to do the snow plow or do the side thing or
right.
whatever.
I've heard like French fries and pizza.
French fries and pizza.
Yeah.
I just think it's like.
Can you trust that? Does pizza work?
Pizza doesn't always work, but that's when you're starting out, you're on a less steep hill. So you want to build that up. You can do that to slow yourself down too. So there's sometimes where you use pizza to slow down rather than to stop. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, it is a tool you can use to slow yourself down. But you're still going forward. I usually, the way I stop is I side, I do to the side and then just do a.
Yeah, seems easier that way, honestly.
Yeah. And I love skiing. And one of the trips that I remember I took, boy, it's like 4 or 5 years ago now. When I was working at another company, I had an opportunity to go teach in Canada. And it was teaching people how to use a software. And I was going to be there for about 6 months. And it was from around September until around February, somewhere around there. So I was living out of a hotel at the expense of the company.
Mm-hmm. How nice.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. It was a great experience. And it was the first time I went to Edmonton. It was Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. It was so much fun, and I met a whole bunch of cool students and people. And like I said, that was back 2006, 2007. I have these pants over here, which I call the Canada pants, because when I went to Canada, I thought to myself, I used to live in Illinois. I have pants. I'm sure I have pants. So it was like a really rush sort of thing. It's like, okay, you're going to Canada to do this job next week. So I was like, oh, I didn't think anything of it, but I didn't have any pants. I just had shorts. I did bring, just in case I needed them, I brought some insulated underwear to wear underneath my shorts.
Oh my God.
So I was that dude. I was known as the guy with the shorts. So everyone knew who I was. It's like, who's that guy with the shorts? It's like, that's me. the company, they all chipped in and they bought me a pair of these really nice fleece lined pants. And I'm like, I live in Arizona, so I'm not going to probably use these, like at the end of my trip, I was like, you think it would be okay if I got everyone to sign them? So I just have like these, signatures on the pants of all the people I met on my trip. And they were like, okay, yeah, definitely. So that's what I did. And they're now the Canada pants. It's got a little Canadian flag on it. And they are the pants I use when I go skiing because they're so nice and warm.
Oh,
they're
very
perfect.
cool. Yeah.
Perfect skiing pants. Flash forward another 10, 11, 12 years later, I decide I'm going to go on a ski trip, and I get reconnected with some of the people I saw in Edmonton. And I said, I'm thinking about going to this place for skiing in Calgary. You want to meet up? So I met up with some people who were my students, and we went skiing in the Canadian Rockies, just outside of Calgary. I forget what the name of the place was, but it was kind of a community in a town called Dead Man's Flats, Canada.
Wow.
Yeah, Dead Man's Flats, Alberta, which is kind of an ominous sounding name.
Yeah, definitely.
But it was a small community, and this was kind of it was basically a group of condominiums which they bought and turned a portion of them into hotel kind of, a hotel type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So it was just a weekend I spent out there. I just flew out. I drove to Dead Man's Flats from the airport, went skiing, got some instruction to get myself all reconnected with the whole skiing thing, which I did need that. I mean, it's like riding a bicycle, but it's nice to have someone show you the ropes again,
Right, kind of a refresher.
Yeah, and it was a lot of fun. It was like I love skiing. Skiing is great. If I could go skiing more frequently, I would.
Yeah, it sounds fun. I would love to try it.
Some people want to snowboard rather than ski. Would you rather ski than snowboard, or you want to learn both?
I think I'd rather ski.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that because of
my history with water skiing? Yeah.
Yeah.
And I just like facing forward.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm in more control.
Yeah, that makes sense. Trips Emelie has taken in her lifetime. Go.
Oh my gosh. Well, just about every summer my family and I would cross country drive to Minnesota.
Right.
So that's always
on the lake, right?
Yeah. So that was always a trip in itself, like 2.5 days in a car.
Yeah. Did you ever go on any historic Route 60, or is that how you would get there? Was historic Route 66?
No, we would just take the fastest way, which is the interstate, the Kansas Turnpike.
Okay.
Yeah, just to get up there as quickly as we could.
Gotcha.
So we would do that all the time, and then spend the whole summer at the lake. So I always enjoyed that.
Mm-hmm.
In high school, I went to Mexico with some friends, and her parents brought us. So that was really fun. And was
that your first time in Mexico?
Yeah, it was my first and only time ever in Mexico. We went to Rocky Point.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and it was super fun. I loved it. The beach was beautiful. Although my friend's boyfriend got stung by a jellyfish in the water. So you could see all the swelling on his chest from the tentacles that grazed him. Yeah. But that was fun. We took some jet skis out in the ocean.
Nice.
That was a fun trip. I went to Pagosa Springs in Colorado.
Okay.
Which is really pretty. They have all those natural hot springs.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so that was cool to each hot spring was a different temperature.
Right.
So it would tell you how hot it was. And then they had a river that was part of the hot springs lodging.
Okay.
That was 30 something degrees.
Oh,
so if you wanted to, you could jump into the river. And a little story about that. So we spent all of our time in the hot springs, and I told my friend, I was like, let's go down to the river and see what that's like. And so we started making our way down, and the steps were made out of slate.
Uh-huh.
And so they were a little wet.
Right.
And so making my way down, I stepped on a slate, and my foot just skidded forward. And the slate rock that was in front of it was a little higher. And so my big toe got all the action and was split open, and
Oh, yuck.
yeah, so that's my memory of Pagosa Springs.
Did you break it?
No, it
It just split it.
it was the worst stub toe I've ever had. Like the flesh of my toe was in half, and I was like, I don't want to go to the hospital. Let's just let it heal on its own, which I did, and now it's fine. But
Okay.
yeah,
In
so
the future, you should go. You should really go to the hospital because you don't know how like bacteria and stuff, infection and things
true,
like that.
yeah.
You know.
But then after it was like bleeding and everything, we went up to the main office, and all they had was hand sanitizer. And so they just,
geez.
yeah.
No first aid kit. That
Yeah,
doesn't make any
I
freaking sense
know,
to
very
me.
surprising. So they just like doused it in hand sanitizer, so that felt awesome. And it
Yeah.
actually it made me get sick because my hearing started to get hollow from just all the pain and all the adrenaline I was feeling.
Yeah.
And my friend's dad was like holding me, and I was like, I'm either gonna pass out right now or I'm gonna get sick. And then I just leaned over and I got sick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, at least you made it through, but yikes.
Yeah, left with
Yeah.
a little battle wound. But I've been to California several times.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do like California.
When you go to California, you just mostly hang out at the beach, or you go to like, some of the destinations.
Probably mostly the beach because
Yeah.
since we don't have a beach here, whenever I get an opportunity to go to the beach, I will go.
Yeah.
And that's where I like to go and just kind of veg out and take it all in because it's kind of like a sweet treat because I don't get it very often.
Yeah.
But I mean, I've been to like Disneyland and Universal Studios, so
Right,
I've hit
right.
like the touristy stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, but mostly Southern California is where I've been. I haven't been really beyond LA.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. We went to Niagara Falls one time. I was a little kid and I didn't want to get stuck in Canada. I don't know what I was thinking. They said, well, we can cross over there. I was like, well, you need a passport. And he's like, no, you don't. We can just cross over there. I was like, I'm not going to get stuck in I was a little kid.
Yeah.
I don't want to get stuck in Canada. I don't want to be stuck there and just not be able to come back because we were idiots and didn't bring our passport. But anyway, yeah, it was kind of silly. But yeah, that's something like you see that and you see the Grand Canyon and it's just, how do you describe those things? You just really, some of those things, waterfalls and stuff like that, it's really difficult to describe how amazing and powerful and beautiful those things are.
Yeah, definitely. Like, especially with the Grand Canyon, like you see pictures, but when you're there standing in front of it, it's just a whole different feeling.
Definitely different.
Yeah, breathtaking.
I've got a couple of video game things involving travel I want to bring up, and then we can close out the show with our dream vacations. Most of these places we go to when we go out of the country is airplane. Is that your preferred mode of transportation? Or do you think?
I would say yes, because you just get to your destination so much quicker and it's less hassle, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then once you get there, you don't have a way to transport around.
Yeah.
So you either have to rent a car, or get Ubers, or maybe you have a friend there who you're visiting. But
yeah. Like you could do taxi cabs, or like some places have really decent transportation systems. Like in Seattle, they've got a really good light rail system there. So it's really easy to get around to places you want to go. Yeah, somewhere else it's like rental cars is the way to do it.
Yeah.
I mean, it does cost a little much. And I'm always concerned about like insurance and things like that. It's like, well, what happens if I crash this car or
exactly.
whatever?
That what if factor.
Yeah, it's a risk anyway. Anyway, slice it. That's always the tricky thing is how am I going to get around? But flying is the way you get to the big destinations typically. And there is a game by AMC Games recently. AMC, like the theaters, yes. That AMC, like the movie classics, called Airplane Mode. And in this, and a game in air quotes, because this game is basically, it's not really a game, it's more of a simulator. It's like a travel simulator. Like we were talking about earlier about, experiencing travel, going to someplace and interacting with it. It's kind of that, except it's just simulating an intercontinental flight on a plane. And you're sitting there and you hear babies crying and you hear other things and other events. And that's what you do. You can get up to go to the bathroom or just sit and eat your snacks or whatever. But it's just like, why?
I know, right? Like maybe to give others the experience, or what would be the point behind that? I wonder what their justification is.
It's hard for me not to say it was just a big joke. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
really hard not to say that it was done for humorous purposes more than it was done for serious purposes.
Right, because there really is no purpose to it.
No, you just sit on the airplane and watch, and it's like it's real time. It's like if you're going to take a trip and it's a 6-hour flight, you're taking a 6-hour flight. Although I did read a little bit about this. You can look through your stuff and you can find sleeping pills and alcohol.
Oh my gosh.
So you can shave off about 2 hours by taking those. But still, that's 4 hours of doing nothing on a plane. I guess that's kind of the figuring those things out as part of the game element. But it's like there's no story there and there's no payoff. You just end the flight and then you can fly again. And that's what that's the quote unquote game.
It's very interesting.
Yeah. It's no Beat Saber, I'll tell you that much. There is also another game that was developed. Are you familiar with Penn and Teller? Have you ever seen Penn and Teller?
No, I haven't.
They're magicians. Penn is the guy that talks. He does all the talking. And Teller, he doesn't talk at all. Like during their act. No talking.
Okay.
And together, it's like a magic thing. What they like to do is they like to expose things that are done, ruses and things like, how tricks and how people pull fast ones on other people and just kind of expose, like, this is how the trick works kind of thing. It's like, and they've been doing that for a very long time. They've got a show in Vegas, but initially... The funniest show in San Francisco, Asparagus, the amazing comedy of theatrical surprises. That's where they met, where Penn and Teller met. Asparagus. And then they started doing having their own shows. They did a lot of off-Broadway stuff. They did a movie called Penn and Teller Get Killed. But anyway, one of their things, and they're very off-color, right? They've got a lot to say. They're off-color, I guess, is the wrong way to put it. They're critical of a lot of things. They like to examine things. They like to figure out how stuff works. They have a game that was never released. It was made, and this is more a game than the airplane mode game. Because it simulates, it's called Desert Bus. Yeah. And the game is, you're driving from like Arizona to California or something like that. And that's it. Nothing happens. It's like you're driving a bus and you have to stay on the road and you're passing cars, but it's nothing.
Interesting.
Yeah. And so that's when I thought of this desert bus game that was never released, that's what airplane mode reminded me of, was this game where it was like...
There's just no objective.
There's just nothing to do.
Yeah.
It's like an anti-game. It's like a game is sort of a statement. Now, what do you think games like those that are simulations of things, what kind of statement would you be making? I mean, I don't quite understand why that would be... Are you trying to be funny? I can only say humor is just the reason why you would do that.
Yeah, I would have to agree with you too, because if there's no objective, then why?
Right. And the only way you would find out there's no objective would be to play it. I mean, in today's day and age, right, I can look it up online and know that someone else played it and said, yeah, the whole point is this, right? But back in my day, pre-internet and early internet, you don't know who played the game, right? So you buy this game and you start playing it. You get surprised by the fact that there's nothing to do and it's a crappy game. And then you tell everyone else, or, the reviews come out and tell you that it's a crappy game or whatever. But now it's a little different. I don't know.
Yeah.
I just don't understand, other than humor, why you would release a game that has no point.
Yeah, I can't quite think of anything either.
Yeah.
Maybe if the graphics are really good.
I guess. I mean, I can look out the window of an airplane. I would rather do it in real life and use those graphics.
Right.
Have you ever taken a train cross country or a bus cross country?
Not cross country, no, but I have been on a train. The one up by the Grand Canyon.
Oh, okay.
The one that comes out of Williams.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was our Grand Canyon trip. We took the train up there.
Okay.
Yeah, but that's my only really train experience.
It wasn't a train that had like sleeping cars or anything like that. It wasn't like an old fashioned like Murder on the Orient Express.
Yeah, no, It would just had like rows of seats and some tables too, but
have you ever had an urge to take a train, like something like that, like a sleeping sort of sleeping on the train kind of thing, or is that just like never thought about it?
Yeah,
doesn't sound interesting.
It does sound interesting, but I did read like in the news not too long ago that the train system, I forgot what it's called, but it derailed. And so now I just think about trains derailing, and if I was on a train and it derailed.
It's the upkeep of the mechanism that needs to be, I mean, derailures are mostly caused by things on the track. When they derail, it's because something makes it derail. And it's not just, I mean, typically, I don't think it's the train itself that's the problem when trains derail.
Yeah, but it's just out of my control, and I'm a person that likes to have control.
So if you were driving the train and can go anywhere you want to.
Yeah, but it could happen in whatever mode of transportation you have. Like a plane could crash or be hijacked, and I mean you really don't have control when you're not the one in charge.
So do you prefer road trips for that reason rather than going to like if you were to take a trip to California, would you be more inclined to drive there or more inclined to fly?
Probably drive. Yeah, I can handle like the 6 to 8 hours.
Right.
I mean, flying, don't get me wrong, it sounds nice to get there in an hour and a half.
Right.
But
it all depends on what the return on the investment is and how good your car is with gas and
exactly.
So a lot of factors.
Yeah, but if it's close enough, I don't mind driving at all.
I did take an Amtrak train from Chicago to Pennsylvania once or twice. And this is a place called Northeast Pennsylvania. So I don't recall how long it was, but it was longer than you would expect, like a flight. So it took a while. And what they ended up doing is when they got to a certain point in the trip, they stopped the train. And you just stay there and just stationary on a train, usually during the time when you would sleep and stuff. And then it would pick up and go. And I don't know if that was the route or if that's a common thing, but it seemed very, very strange that you would just stop the train to have a nap or whatever.
Right. You would think there'd be like a backup conductor or something.
Yeah. You just keep it going,
right?
But maybe that's a scheduling thing. Maybe it's like, I don't know how that works exactly, but the seating on it was slightly better than an airplane. And slightly better than an airplane, I mean like, your the lowest class you can get on an airplane.
Yeah, like more width to the seat.
A little more width, yeah. Walking around and stuff wasn't policed as much. Riding on a train, it was very soothing. I mean, just like when you're on an airplane, the turbulence is kind of jarring. But for some reason, for me, sleeping on the train was super easy just because it was just the sound. It's very white noise sounding.
Yeah, it would seem like it. Yeah.
Dream vacations next.
Okay.
Do you have a specific destination that you have always wanted to visit? Like there was a time in my life that I said, when I get married, you can do whatever you want with the wedding. I get the honeymoon, and it is Denmark, and it is where Legos were invented. And that's where we're going, to Legoland in Denmark. And that's changed recently, just recently, and we'll get into that. Because I have a new sort of like a cool sort of maybe if I ever get married. I don't know. That's also changed. I don't know if I'm ever going to get married either. Do you have any place that you've always been fascinated to go to? For me, it was Legoland in Denmark. Do you have a place that you want to go to?
Yeah, I really would like to go to Sweden.
Okay.
Yeah, like in Stockholm.
Okay. Anywhere specifically in Stockholm, or just?
No, nowhere specifically, but my ancestors came from Sweden.
Okay.
So it's kind of like the motherland of
Right.
my family.
Right.
So I think it'd be cool to go there and just check it out.
Yeah.
Because I've heard it's beautiful.
Yeah.
And I just want to kind of take in the culture and just experience that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm super eager to do that one day.
Interesting. Will Ferrell's wife is from Sweden, I think. Swedish. So he knows some Swedish and has told stories about his wife talking to him in Swedish. There was also a show about life in Sweden where this guy moves to Sweden. Let me look it up, because it was a really good, interesting show that kind of gives you an idea about how life is in Sweden. And it was kind of a nice mix of Swedish actors and American actors, and they talked in both languages. And it was a show that was put on in Sweden and in the U.S. at the same time. Welcome to Sweden, Greg Poehler. So Amy Poehler's brother. It's kind of an American and Swedish sitcom that was really interesting, because the whole premise of the show is he works in Hollywood. His Swedish girlfriend gets a job. They move to Sweden together because she's got a better job in Sweden. So he gets transplanted. He was he knew what he was doing in LA, but now he's living in Sweden and interacting with her family and getting kind of like accustomed to the whole social structure and what things go on in Sweden. And there's a lot of comedy that has to deal with that. And he's trying to start his own consulting business like he had in LA, but it's not the same in Sweden. 2 seasons from 2014. It's a very interesting, funny sort of look at Sweden. Do you know any Swedish?
I don't. I know Volkamen, which means welcome.
Right.
That's it.
Isn't that the same in German? Willkommen?
I don't know. I don't even know hello in Swedish.
Can you identify IKEA furniture?
I probably could, honestly.
You're sitting on it.
Oh, then no, I couldn't.
Yes. Semi-disposable Scandinavian furniture. IKEA. Swedish meatballs. If you've got heritage in Sweden, do you eat Swedish meatballs? Have you had Swedish meatballs?
Yes, my grandma makes the best Swedish meatballs ever. And my mom, her recipe's pretty good. I mean, it is my grandma's, but something about grandma's cooking is a little bit better than mom's cooking.
Well, right. Clearly. Right.
Yeah, but the Swedish meatballs are so good. And I've had a lot of, like around Christmas time when we make like Christmas cookies.
Okay.
We make Swedish cookies.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So we make they're called rosettes.
Uh-huh.
And you take this like metal iron that has like a design of like a flower.
Right.
And you dip it in the batter. And then you dip it
Oh, yeah.
into
And
frying oil.
Okay.
And it's like a crispy little delight.
It's got like lattice work. Like it looks like almost like a
snowflake or a flower.
Or like a doily or something.
Yeah.
Like, just an edible doily.
Yeah. And you just sprinkle it with some powdered sugar. So we make those.
Oh yeah. Funnel cake like.
Yeah, they're super good. And my grandma's always called them bow wows.
Okay.
And they're like a Swedish donut.
Oh, okay.
So it's another thing you fry, but it's made it has cardamom in the dough.
Okay.
And that's a very popular ingredient.
Swedish cooking.
Yeah. And so then you like cut it up into, like you roll it out and then you cut it up and you just make 2 little slits in about like a 3-inch thing of dough. So then when you fry it, it looks like a little dog. Like a little Scottish terrier.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so that's why my grandma calls them bow wows. Is because
neat.
Yeah, they look like little dog donuts.
Huh.
Yeah, so we made that. And my mom always makes Swedish coffee bread around the holidays.
Okay.
Yeah, which is just cardamom bread.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's always good. So, yeah, I've had a lot of the cooking around in my life.
Was your grandma born in Sweden?
No, her mother came
from Sweden.
Yeah.
Okay. Has your mom been to Sweden?
Nope. Neither has my grandma.
Oh wow. Oh wow.
Yeah, so I think it'd be cool if we all went.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. a ladies of the family trip.
Yeah. I mean, that'd be cool. That'd be like a dream if we all were able to go together.
Yeah, there was a time when I thought about the Czechnos boys going back together. My father went to Lithuania. That's where the last name is from. My grandfather, on my father's side, his parents and their family escaped during the Bolshevik Revolution around that time to the United States. So he was, a little kid at the time when they escaped. Our last name was kind of an Americanized Lithuanian last name. So there's always been interest from my father and also my aunt in finding out that history and doing some, investigation of family over there and stuff.
Yeah.
I don't think if I ever went to a place that was new currently, there was a time when I would want to go with my family, right? I think for me, the thing I like about travel is the experience. You can share it with someone, but I would rather just go with someone where it's new. It's just like a new, let's just figure out, let's go there and figure out what to do kind of thing, as opposed to with family. I guess it would be different for you if you've never been there.
Mm-hmm.
I want to experience something new by myself and then maybe share it. I don't know. What are your thoughts on traveling? Would you prefer to travel by yourself or prefer to travel with family? Or
When I went to Hawaii, that was my first like solo trip.
Yeah.
And so that was cool, and like the anticipation of going was what I enjoyed too, being like, I'm going all by myself, like flying by myself, in a hotel room by myself, walking around Hawaii by myself. And which I liked because you just do whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
Like you're on no one else's time. You're just on your own time. And
yeah.
So that was fun. But I do like traveling with my family.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because we've done it most of my life. So pretty accustomed to it.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a little familiarity there.
But I do have to agree, like now that I'm older, I would like to go places without my family.
Right.
Like I'm not always like a family trip. It has to be. So.
Yeah. So Sweden, is that it? Is there another place specifically that you would want to go to?
I've always thought about Australia.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's always appealed to me.
Really?
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's the whole Steve Irwin vibe, but I think it would be so cool to go to the zoo that the Irwin family runs.
Yeah.
Because I kind of I grew up with that family, so
yeah. As far as on television.
Yeah. And just to see what it's like there, like maybe see the Sydney Opera House. And,
oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So Sydney would be the place you'd want to go to there?
Yeah, probably.
Interesting. I've had urges lately to go there, and I know this sounds ridiculous, to go there to ski. They have some skiing destinations there, but their ski season is just backwards from us. So you can go there and ski, but it's like June.
Right.
That would be kind of a fun little trip, but would be specific for me to skiing. I'm a little put off by all the animals there want to kill you, basically. Everything's all mean and wants to kill.
Or poisonous.
Yeah,
right? That's true.
But it would be really cool.
And I want to hold a koala, get a picture with a koala on my hip. That's on my bucket list.
Okay. I hear koalas are mean though.
Oh no, really?
I hear they're mean.
Interesting.
Yeah. But, I mean, you might be able to find some that aren't.
That's true. Maybe the ones that get handled like that.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure there's probably a photo booth opportunity where.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure.
Hold this koala for $15 or something.
Yeah, here we go. At the side of a road or something. Or pet the crocodile. I don't know about that. I don't know if I'd do that.
I wouldn't quite either.
No.
I like my limbs to stay intact.
In Australia, there's a lot of reef activity down there that you could also engage in if you love the ocean. Their beaches are pretty friggin' amazing there too.
Yeah, that's what I've heard.
Yeah.
Just a lot of it just really interests me.
It's a big country and there's a lot of different biomes there too, but it sounds like a perfect destination for you if you like both, the beach and the ocean. Perfect.
Mm-hmm.
I think that would be one of those ones where you'd want to go down there to Sydney and just figure shit out yourself.
Yeah. And definitely take at least a month down there, I feel like.
Oh gosh, yeah.
You gotta take the time to be down there.
Yeah, here's something weird with me and trips lately is there's a sort of an economy for a trip, right? I think there's a benefit to going somewhere for a month or whatever and experiencing that. But with, working a job and trying to make a living and stuff, that's not always a possibility.
Right.
So for me, generally, it's just like a week and I guess that's possibly normal. Is that kind of a normal
Yeah, me
length?
too. That's about how much I take when I go somewhere.
Yeah. I mean, that's how much I can, afford to take typically is about a week or 2 weeks tops. But I think when you limit that, you got to do more planning in order to figure out how to fit as much of the stuff as you want in there, which is good. But then also you don't want to feel like you have to stuff it full, because there's going to be things that you're going to discover that you're going to go, oh wow, I got to stop by there. I got to stop by there. Or anyway, it's a balancing act. I don't know where I was going with that. Just like different ways people take vacations, I guess. I told you earlier, I have always been fascinated with Japan, Tokyo, just the cultural differences and just how interesting and unique things that I enjoy, mostly video games.
Yeah, it seems a lot different than American culture.
Oh yeah, there's just so many interesting things that are just so different. A couple of places that I want to go in Japan. Are you familiar with the concept of a capsule hotel?
I'm not.
Capsule hotels, apparently it's known as a pod hotel in the Western world, but it was a type of hotel that was developed in Japan where it's just basically it's a bed-sized room. It's almost like if you ever see those morgue photos where where they've got the doors and they can pull the thing out.
Yes.
And it's a little bit larger than that.
And that's where you sleep?
You sleep there. It's just a bed-sized capsule that people would sleep in. And it was developed in Japan for people who very busy. Often it's like, they need to catch a nap or whatever. But all the things that you would do as far as use the bathroom or showers or anything, they're all public.
Okay.
And the place where you would sleep is this little capsule, just a window and a bed.
Yeah,
basically.
wow. Probably a lot cheaper than a hotel.
Definitely.
Yeah? Okay.
One of the things, though, is they are stereotypically used by businessmen when they're too drunk to... That doesn't sound... But anyway, it's like, they're out on the town. You get too drunk. You can stay at a capsule hotel. That's a stereotype that I don't really think is necessarily accurate. But there are cultural implications, but it's basically, if you're on the road, it's business. It's a really quick, like a quick trip. You sleep in this capsule hotel, and then, it's like we would call something like that like a Days Inn or something, like a cheap hotel, but it's, much smaller.
Yeah.
Much smaller. Do you think you could sleep in a capsule like that?
Yeah, from what it looked like, I think I could.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you think of it more of like a morgue setting, then no. But they are bigger than the cubbies at a morgue. So I think I could definitely do it comfortably.
The way they do it in Japan, they have them, they are segregated. There is no two people staying in a single capsule.
Oh, really? No, like queen size?
No, it's not. It's all the men have a floor, all the women have a floor, basically.
Oh, okay.
I guess that's okay. Yeah, they're generally designed for single night stays. So it's not like, you would go there and stay. So one of the things I want to do is stay at a capsule hotel. Don't ask me why. I'm a tall guy. I probably would be very uncomfortable, but it just seems like something that would be an interesting experience to me.
Yeah, definitely.
Maybe stay a day or two tops in one of those places. There is a specific theme. Japanese, they like a lot of themed things. There are a lot of themed cafes and themed, like cat cafes and
how fun.
That would be interesting places to go to in Japan. But one of the places that is, I'd probably do a stay of like a traditional capsule hotel. But there is a place called First Cabin, which the premise of this hotel is they've got some units that are like the standard capsules. But basically, it's a larger, the premise is you're sleeping on an airplane. That's what it is. First cabin. you're sleeping on an airplane, and it's got this sectioned off spots where it's just the size of a bed, and you have a table, and that's it. It's like capsule-like, but it's not, it's the same. It's basically an evolution of the capsule hotel that is more room-like. So you've got your bed, you've got a safe there that you can lock your valuables in, you've got a little desk and a chair, you got a television, and then a curtain. So it's like a bunch of these on a floor, also still women's floor, men's floor, public bathrooms and stuff. But I think that would be, if you wanted to stay multiple nights, that would be a cheap alternative or cheaper alternative, which I may entertain if I ever go. And it's like a themed capsule hotel, which is like two of the things that fascinate me about Japan. Ryokan is like a traditional hotel in Japan that you would stay. Think of it as more like a bed and breakfast kind of thing.
Okay.
And it's got the traditional sort of like, has nothing to do with the more urban places. Ryokan. I think I'm saying that okay.
Beats me. I have no idea. Sounds good.
Traditional Japanese inn. Yeah, if I show you pictures of these, you'll kind of see, and it's got it's traditional breakfast. Usually dinner is included with a room, sort of a bed and breakfast. I guess that's, it's very much like that, sitting on the floor and sleeping on the floor. And that would be a cool thing to do too. And when you said hot springs, they do have a lot of interesting like bath houses there that are built on hot springs and have like various mineral contents and things like that I would also like to do. That's more of a traditional sort of Japanese thing to do.
Have you heard that in the Japanese culture, they've always like bathed almost like a ritual?
There is a bathing ritual.
Yeah, like they just like to be clean. There
was a place that I looked into that was basically, it was like a little kid's sort of like fun time, like I want to say amusement park, but there was a ride, like it was a bathhouse trivia or something like that, where you had to do things in a certain way, and it was bathhouse. Very weird. There is tradition there, and it's like there are rituals associated with things like bath. I don't know if ritual, well, I guess it is. So I guess you could call it a ritual if you wanted to. Oh, there was a street cart thing we talked about briefly. We talked about go-karts. No, I guess we didn't talk about go-karts. We talked about driving in Japan. This was something that would require me to get a learner's permit first.
Is that hard to accomplish?
No, it's not. Okay, so here's the thing. If you're going to do it, I would say the signage and the way traffic works in Japan is so different that if you were going to do that, you would want to definitely study all the signage.
Right.
You can get a temporary, like a permit, like a learner's permit. The learner's permit is acceptable for this thing that I want to do on go-karts, which is there are go-karts that you race around. It's like Mario Kart, except real go-karts.
Oh my gosh.
And you go on certain portions of the highway and things that are like blocked off, so it's only these go-karts. It's a go-kart tour. They also have things where they've got costumes for, I don't know if I'd want to do that, costumes for rent. So you can like dress up as Mario if you want to. Also, this street cart website, if you just look up go-kart tours, Japan or Tokyo, it's definitely worth reading for the bad translations too, because I love translation errors.
Yeah.
It's so funny. It's great. You understand what they're trying to get at, but they have a lot of really funny things that get translated in a strange way. But yeah, it's basically a go-kart tour. You go from a certain point to another point, and there are certain stops and things just like you would on an actual tour, but you're driving around on the streets of Tokyo.
How cool.
Yeah. They go over this thing with the rules where they say no throwing bananas behind you, just like they're trying to be funny about like the Mario Kart thing.
There's probably some people that have tried to do that.
Yeah, no turtle shells. You can't throw turtle shells or banana peels or whatever. Very interesting. You should at very least take a look at the site. And then the last thing I want to say about things that I want to do in Japan is this place called Super Potato.
I can't even guess what that would be.
You can't? Just take a wild guess.
What comes to my mind is maybe like food.
No.
Like, no.
No. Super Potato is a used video game store that has every system that you can imagine historically. It's a basically new and used video game console store. And
Very
they've got
cool.
cartridges there. It's just everything, all these used video games throughout history and things that you could buy there. But yeah, it'd just be like going to a museum that's also a store.
Right, like an antique mall for video game stuff.
That's exactly what it is. That's basically what it is. That's perfect. It's like video games that are sold in an antique shop.
Super Potato.
Yep, Super Potato. Just like a living history museum of games.
Yeah, there's so many.
Yep, console games, arcade, or not arcade games. These are all for the home market. Super Potato.
Is it used?
Mostly used. They do have new, but yeah, it's mostly like, I also think of it like as Bookman's.
Okay.
It's sort of Bookman's, but all video games and all Japanese
Got
video
it.
games
Okay.
mostly, and Japanese systems, although they probably do have some that available in the U.S. One last thing about Japan that I want to also, they have a lot of really interesting themed cafes that I want to check out. They've got, if you look online, you can see a lot of videos about, they've got an owl cafe.
With like owls? in
Yeah.
there? Wow.
Yeah. The way these cafes are set up is a lot of them are just kind of like, think of it as it's a place where you go to pet the animals, to feed, sometimes like a petting zoo. There was also a hedgehog one that I saw that they went to a hedgehog.
Oh my
yeah.
gosh.
And they got to feed the little hedgehogs, the
How
little
cute.
worm things. Yeah. And it's just like they hold them in their hand and stuff. But the place, what they call it a cafe, but it's just basically you go to vending machines and you get vending machine, whatever, coffee or soda so it's not really like, when I think of cafe, my thought comes to there's a dude behind there who's making something for me that's a custom thing or whatever. I think of that as a cafe. But a lot of these places are just basically places you go to pet the cats and chill out, and then you can just go to the vending machines and get your whatever you want.
Yeah, I've heard that they're pretty notorious for vending machines.
Yeah.
Like they have just about
yeah, in general.
anything and everything you can get in
a vending machine
Yeah.
in Japan. Yeah, there are also these things called, I wasn't going to go here, but collectibles, like, gumball machines.
Mm-hmm.
Like they had the little things that they had the little collectible. Did you ever as a kid get those things out of a gumball machine that had like little toys? Or
and it came like in a little plastic
Yeah,
bubbly thing.
the plastic bubble. Well, they've got something called Gashapon. And Gashapon machines are the same thing, but they're higher end toy dispenser sort of machines.
Mm-hmm.
And they've got they're round balls that have these figurines in them. And they've got shops that have like just nothing but Gashapon machines. And you go there and you pick one that you want, and then it's like little collections of stuff, right? Like collections of Gundam figurines, or collections of, like you put in your money and then you get dispensed these toys, and people are really serious about collecting. They're like more adult themed too.
Mm.
They've got all sorts of interesting sort of collectible things that are just like little figurines, and everyone does it. It's like, adults. A lot of these things have roots in like anime characters, which are more adult kind of places. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Also, on the subject of cafes, to close out the show, there are a lot of different bizarre places that you can go to in Japan. There's like the robot restaurant. There's a place that is you fish, like you actually fish for your fish that you catch, and then they serve it to you.
Wow.
It's like a fishing themed restaurant.
That sounds kind of cool.
It looks kind of neat and more traditional, right? And there's just a ton of interesting restaurants and cafes. But the one that I want to go to, there is a genre, I guess that's a way to put it, of restaurant called Maid cafes. They also, not to be, this is the recent development, but they also have butler cafes for people who are like, that's sexist to have maid cafes, but
Right.
no butler cafes. But there are butler cafes too. So maid and butler cafes, where you go there and the person who serves you is like your maid and calls you master does their special drinks, and all the food is all cutesy and weird, and they've got a weird sort of like show element where the maids do dance numbers and stuff. It is so weird to me as someone in America.
Yeah.
It's like part fantasy. I also saw a video online of this cafe that was a prison hospital themed cafe.
Oh my gosh.
Where all the drinks and things were all disgusting medical-ish kind of things. It's very weird. I'll show you after the show. But It's like themed cafes. You think themed cafes are weird here? You haven't seen nothing.
It's like the norm over there.
Oh yeah, it's a very interesting place. I mean, that's there used to be so much stuff to do over there that you'd kind of have to figure out. I mean, what's important?
Right.
But
definitely
I mean,
plan out your trip before you go.
Yeah. One good thing about Tokyo, Japan, too, is that there are a lot of students and stuff that they want to practice their English. So it's like you can speak English there.
Okay.
But these days, all you need is like Google Translate on your phone, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you can actually have it. There's scanners. The scanner will scan the text and it'll convert it. So you get kind of an idea of what the different, like if it's written or spelled differently, especially in Japan.
Yeah,
I mean, that's a completely different language as far as the way it's written, right?
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, it's a lot easier these days. I think it would be a fun trip. Any other dream locations? Anything to wrap up the travel show?
I do know that I want to go to the Grand Tetons very soon. Have you ever been there?
No.
Yeah,
no.
up there in Wyoming.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's been like one of my bucket list items.
Oh, okay.
Which seems easily achievable because it's right there.
Right.
So maybe this year that'll be on my list. Yeah.
Fun. Yeah, you drive up there, or you?
Yeah, I would road trip up there through Colorado, and I've never been to Yellowstone, and that's like right there too.
Oh yeah.
So just get the whole gist of that.
Yeah, since you mentioned that, I'm going to mention one last thing. Disney. We talked about been to Disney and stuff. There is a new attraction there that just opened up that is a themed hotel around the Star Wars universe. That's the Galactic Starcruiser. And I said that I wanted to do that Legoland, the original Legoland, not like the California one, right?
Right.
In Denmark. Now, I want to save up my money for this Galactic Starcruiser experience, which is basically 2 days, an immersive experience on a Galactic Starcruiser. As far as in the Star Wars universe, you've got it's all very ship themed. It's almost like you're playing a role in the hotel.
Wow.
Right?
Yeah. Very cool.
The price tag, however, is what people are criticizing.
Oh no.
And the price tag for a 2-night adventure with 2 people is roughly $5,000.
Yeah. No, that's my deal breaker.
Yeah. Now, it's something that, I mean, even the price tag aside, if I had the money to blow, man, that seems like it would be so much fun. And depending on how the interactive experience works, like, are you live action role playing in that scenario? Are there hotels out there where you have live action role playing as a part of the experience of being in the hotel? So it's like when you go to eat, you're participating in a story, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's part of that. Let me just say, the hotel itself is not just the $5,000, right? That's including all the tickets to Disney World and all that stuff, which is probably amounts to $500, but still, that's a lot of money to spend at a hotel.
Right. Hopefully they're feeding you too.
Yes, they are feeding you. Okay. Meals are included there. I mean, but still.
Yeah. I'm like, that makes it a little better, but I feel like you'd have to be like such a fan.
Yeah.
To really enjoy that.
Well, and they do have, and I say the 2-room, it's like the $5,000 is roughly the main price, right? It's like, it depends. If you have more people in a room, you split that differently. So it's the experience itself overall costs around $5,000 to $6,000 depending on whether you have 2, 4, or 8 people. It's cheaper if you go with a bunch of people,
Right.
but I would have more fun going with just one person.
Yeah, that would be fun.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. Kind of like the show was with one person. You.
With me.
You and me.
So
Yeah. You know what? I'm going to have to reverse that.
Reverse what?
Oh, I talked about it in the last show. Yeah, because YouTube, very strict about copyrights.
Really?
Yeah, really weird. Just the two of us. You can say just the two of us.
But
We
you
can make it if we try. But you can't sing it.
Interesting.
Yeah, very strange.
Just
And-
the two of us.
Yes.
It doesn't feel the same. You just
But
want
anyway.
to sing it.
Yeah, no, exactly.
Wow.
On that note, let's wrap up the travel show. What is the advice that you would give a traveler as they are going on their next trip?
Maybe plan out your itinerary for the trip. That
Yes.
way you're better prepared. You aren't wasting time planning while you're there.
Yep.
Yeah, I think that's a smart move for travelers.
Itinerary. And then I think I would say my advice is if you are planning an itinerary, leave space for other things, right? You're going to find things when you go there that you didn't expect to find. So leave a little wiggle room when it comes to planning out your itinerary.
Right, yes, I
Because
agree.
you're always going to find something that's like, oh man, I wish I would have put some space there. And then you don't have to make the decision as to what you have to drop and what you have to add,
Right. Uh-huh.
So that is our traveling advice from two people who haven't traveled in quite some time. Well, you have. Hi, Hawaii, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Long trips.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for joining us on the Too Vague podcast. My name is Ben,
And I'm Emelie.
and we've been your hosts. Have a wonderful rest of your day.
Bye.
Bye.